Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from Assemblywoman Shannon Grove, a wrap-up of Sacramento's summer session, news from the 9/11 Candlelight Vigil, gas prices, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Thanks for joining us for the news. I'm Tom Wicknick. Here's news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. In news from Sacramento and Assemblywoman Shannon Grove's office, we learned this. Throughout the last hours of the legislative session last Friday, Capitol Democrats have appropriated hundreds of millions of dollars to a variety of government agencies and programs without committee hearings or public input, including millions of dollars in raises to unnecessary Caltrans employees and allowing Covered California to distribute millions in no-bid contracts. While Democrat leaders push hundreds of millions of dollars to political allies under the dark of night, they continue to refuse to fund a core government program that desperately needs additional funds, that is, Developmentally Disabled Services, DDS. With the money that has been appropriated at the 11th hour, the state could have doubled DDS funding without raising taxes a dime. Instead, the majority party continues to fund unnecessary programs and leave DDS funding at the mercy of ridiculous taxes on completely unrelated consumer items. Why? It is obvious that fully funding DDS is not a budget priority for the Capitol Democrats. Earlier this year, Assembly Republicans proposed a 10% increase in DDS funding during the legislative budget process. It is absurd that the majority party could not find the money for this vital support program in our record-high $115 million budget. These videos show the facts. Assemblywoman Shannon Grove on May 21st makes an emotional plea for DDS funding and is shut down by Democrats. This is also a candid look into the process when one party controls everything on the agenda.
The staff recommendation is to approve a rate increase of 5% in 2015-16 beginning January 1, 2016, and an additional 5% for a total of 10% in 2016-17 for purchase of service and operation.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Chair, make a subsequent motion. Subsequent motion on issue 15 is to adopt for 2015-16 budget year the Latterman Coalition proposal as outlined in March 4th, 2015 agenda, which includes a 10% increase across the board to regional centers for operations and purchases of services effective July and not waiting for 2 years to have it implemented.
Is there a second to the substitute motion? Seeing none.
I also want to adopt trailer bill language.
We have a motion that has a second. There's a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Bonta.
I appreciate the pushback from the subcommittee on the governor's proposal and the commitment we have to fully fulfill the 10% funding and doing that in a way that is realistic and practical and can get done over 2 years. So I support the motion.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Thurmond.
Aye.
Bonta.
Aye.
Chu.
Aye.
Grove.
Permission to request the additional language when I was cut off by not allowing the language to be put into the motion.
We have a motion and a second. We're taking a roll call vote on the motion. Member Grove on the motion.
Without the finished completion of the entire motion?
On the motion. We have a motion with a second. It requires action on the motion and the second. Member Grove, what is your pleasure?
Just requesting to finish and complete my motion.
Member Grove,
I'm
on
just
the
requesting
motion.
to complete my motion.
You have the prerogative to vote any way you like on the motion. You made a substitute motion that wasn't seconded. The rules of this House require that the next step is action on the motion. Third time in requesting. Member Grove, what is your pleasure on the motion as stated?
I would like to complete my motion and let the chair hear the complete motion before it's voted on.
Member Grove, you're out of order. If you wish to take an action on the motion as stated, please do so. If you wish to make a different motion, You have to do that after the action has been taken.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. Do you wish to have other comment? Member Grove.
Absolutely. I wish to adopt trailer bill language that expresses the legislature's intent that the savings achieved from the closure of the developmental centers will be used for new investments in the community.
Is there a second for that motion? For lack of a second, that motion does not carry.
During public testimony at Friday's special session and a committee hearing, an advocate for the developmentally disabled says, "This California legislature, this Democrat-controlled House, has made me hopeless." So the fight for funding continues, and this in a year that has a record high budget, and the governor has called for a special session to raise even more taxes. Now a recap of how the 2015 regular session of California's legislative session ended. First, medical pot measures moved full steam ahead to the governor's desk. Both legislative houses have approved a comprehensive plan to license and regulate the growth, shipping, and sale of medical marijuana in California, nearly 2 decades after the state voters legalized it. In a new law, SB 350, concerning the environment, a bill that was very controversial right at the end of the session moved on. After clearing a major hurdle in the Assembly earlier in the day, a high-profile bill to counter climate change has passed the Senate and now awaits Governor Jerry Brown's signature. We are at the verge of accomplishing something truly historic, Senate Leader Kevin DeLeon, Democrat out of Los Angeles, said during a lengthy speech before the Senate voted 26-14 to give final approval to his bill, SB 350. He said the bill is full of bold ideas. The measure would require the state to get 50% of its electricity from renewable sources and double the energy efficiency in buildings by 2030. A controversial provision of the bill to slash gasoline use by 50% was dropped earlier in the week. We can move forward, set the path, and show the world how it's done, DeLeon said in conclusion. Governor Jerry Brown has expressed support of the bill. Taking carbon out of the modern economy requires heroic efforts and tireless struggle. SB 350 in both efficiency and renewable energy ratchets up the California commitment, Brown said. We have the technological means and now we have the legal mandate to reduce carbon pollution. Another bill that passed the state Senate on Friday sent the governor a bill keeping aerial drones from interfering with firefighters and emergency crews. The bill by Senator Ted Gaines, Republican, would protect officials from liability if they use jamming devices to knock drones out of the air. It was approved by a unanimous vote. The bill, Gaines said, will help keep rogue drones from interfering in these emergency situations. Most importantly, I hope it will prevent the loss of life. And finally, in a landmark victory for supporters of assisted suicide, the California State Legislature on Friday gave its final approval to a bill that would allow doctors to help terminally ill people end their lives. 4 states, Oregon, Washington, Montana, and Vermont, already allow physicians to prescribe life-ending medication to some patients. The California bill, which passed Friday in the state Senate by a vote of 23-14, will now go to Governor Jerry Brown. Brown has given little indication of his intentions. The California bill is modeled on the law in Oregon, with several notable changes. The California law would expire after 10 years and have to be reapproved. And doctors would have to consult in private with the patient desiring to die, as part of an effort to ensure that no one would be coerced to end his or her life, a primary concern for opponents of the law. Proponents of the Death with Dignity movement said they hoped the passage of the California law could be a turning point. It allows for individual liberty and freedom of choice, said Mark Leno, a Democrat from San Francisco. Since Oregon approved the country's first assisted suicide law in 1997, supporters have struggled to expand their reach amid opposition from religious groups, some medical organizations, and lawmakers whose skepticism crosses party lines. I'm not going to push the old or the weak out of the world, Senator Ted Gaines, a Republican, said on the floor. I think that could be the unintended consequence of this legislation. So that's a wrap-up of a few of the bills they finished last Friday. The legislature will reconvene January 4th. In the meantime, though, special sessions on health care and transportation remain open, and lawmakers could be called back to Sacramento to work on them at any time. In local news, the Ridgecrest Exchange Club held their 14th annual Candlelight Vigil last Friday evening. This was a ceremony remembering the 9/11 attacks. It was held at the Ridgecrest Freedom Park with 1,000 American flags blowing in the background. It was a moving program. Admiral Winter gave the key address.
One of the worst days in America's history saw some of the bravest acts in America's history. We will always honor the heroes of 9/11. Here at this hallowed place, we pledge that we will never forget their sacrifice. To those who have gone before us on that day in September of 2001, in our response to that day's tragic events, we remember you with sad, sweet feeling in our heart and will not let you down as we carry on in your memory.
I'm sure we'll see another great parade and program next year. Now an update from the Kern County Fire Department on the Rough Fire. The fire started from a lightning strike on July 31st. This is the forest fire threatening the Kings Canyon and Sequoia National Forest by Fresno. They report the fire has grown to 130,000 acres and is 29% contained. 74 Kern County firefighters are assigned to the fire, including the crew of Helicopter 407. In this photo, H407 is pictured with MAFS. MAFS stands for Modular Airborne Firefighting Systems, and are military C-130 transport planes that can be converted to firefighting air tankers. They are capable of carrying 3,000 gallons of retardant. MAFs are requested when other fire service aircraft are committed. When ordered, MAFs are taken from their military duties and outfitted with air tanker equipment. There are 8 MAFs in the United States, including 2 stationed in California. Now in KZGN's continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my last report on Wednesday, gas prices continue a slow decrease. Ridgecrest's lowest price fell another 3 cents since Friday. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $3.11 to $3.39. Lancaster's ranging from $3.15 to $3.59. The LA Valley Air's $3.09 to $3.29. And the Bishop area $3.65 to $3.77. We have 4 stations coming in at the $3.11 figure. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, warm weather is expected across much of the central U.S. with temperatures as much as 15 to 25 degrees above normal, especially across central and northern plains. Meanwhile, cooler weather is expected across much of the western U.S. with high temperatures as much as 5 to 15 degrees below normal, with some cases being 10 degrees or more cooler than yesterday. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas came in at 75, Georgia 70, Arkansas 78, Northern Texas 79, Arizona 81, and Los Angeles came in at 73. For our local forecast, tonight a 20% chance of showers, partly cloudy with a low around 69, breezy with a south-southwest wind 20 to 25 miles per hour with gusts as high as 35. Tuesday, 20% chance of showers, but otherwise mostly sunny with a high near 87, breezy with a southwest wind 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 40. Tuesday night, partly cloudy with a low around 66, breezy with a southwest wind, 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts as high as 35. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 85, breezy with a southwest wind, 10 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low around 62, breezy with a west-southwest wind, 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusts as high as 25. Thursday, sunny with a high near 88, west wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 65, calm wind, west-northwest 5 miles per hour. Friday, sunny with a high near 94, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And on Friday night, clear with a low around 67, northwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. And as a look at your local forecast read IWV, now back to Tom and the rest of the KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. And now Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Monday afternoon to everyone. Let's start with local sports. Burroughs High School dropped a a tough 29-17 decision on Friday night. It was a warm night, a lot of bugs out there and all kinds of other things. Burroughs did some good things offensively at times, but just couldn't convert when we needed to. Give Garces a lot of credit. They were a little bigger team than we were. They were strong up on the line, and they too had a couple of very, very good athletes, a receiver and a running back that were very, very talented, and also a very good junior quarterback. But Burroughs will regroup. They'll play against Paraclete this coming Friday night. That game also at Burroughs. It'll be a 7 o'clock start. Now, JV football, the JV football team lost a 15-0 game against Barstow, and I beg your pardon, against Garces, and they only played one half due to the heat. They got a late start in that game. They couldn't start until it got under 100 degrees, and then they finally kicked off, and they got a half of a game in. So both the varsity and JV football team dropped games this past Friday night. Now, the IWV senior football team played Barstow, and they lost a very close 16-6 game over at Leroy Jackson Park on Saturday evening. Okay, let's talk about the NFL who won today. Some of the winners were Green Bay beat the Bears. Miami got a win at Washington. Kansas City went to Houston, spoiled their homecoming. The Jets beat up Cleveland pretty bad. Johnny Manziel had a fairly good day in the defeat for Cleveland. The Bills, boy, under Rex Ryan, new head coach, just all over Indianapolis today in Buffalo. Thursday night, New England got the win against Pittsburgh. St. Louis somehow beat Seattle 34-31 in overtime. Okay, Major League Baseball, it's winding down. They're down to the last 20 games. Remember what Yogi Berra once said, it's never over till it's over? Well, words never rung louder than on Sunday in Anaheim. The Angels had a 5-0 lead in the ninth inning with 2 outs. They need 1 more out for a big win. They would have swept Houston. And Houston Street gave up a 2-run home run, and the Angels went on to lose 5-3. Now the Angels find themselves in 3rd place in the West, and they are now 2.5 games behind Texas for a wild card spot, and they trail the Houston Astros by 3.5 games in the American League West. So, I beg your pardon, 4.5 games in the American League West. Now, tonight the Angels will be up in Seattle. They'll have to take on King Felix Game 2, which will be Wednesday. Angels are in need of some wins. They are right now, though, on the bubble for the wild card team. The Angels, the Rangers, and the Twins, all within 4 games of each other, all with about 20 games left, and all those teams, basically, those 3 teams, one of those will get the last wild card position. The Cleveland Indians, back at 500 now, first time all year they've been there. They still are mathematically in the hunt. Okay, let's talk about college football. College football over the weekend, some big games. Number 1, Ohio State, no problem, 38-0 over Hawaii. UCLA, easy over UNLV. USC just bombards Idaho. Why are they playing Idaho? Boy, what an opening 2 games. Idaho and Arkansas State. Kentucky beat South Carolina. LSU survives a missed field goal at the Horn to beat Mississippi State. Boise State defeats BYU. Toledo over Arkansas. That has to be an upset. Arkansas, number 16 in the land. Auburn, the number 6 team, almost upset by Jacksonville State, of all people. They scored in the last minute to put the game into overtime, where they eventually won. Now, Georgia, number 10 team, beats Vanderbilt, and Notre Dame squeaks by Virginia down in Charlottesville. Alabama, TCU, Baylor also win. We'll have the top 10 in the rankings tomorrow. They should come out officially on Monday night. Now, Floyd Mayweather won his match against Andre Berto. That was in Vegas on Saturday night. Mayweather now 49-0. He's almost 40 years old. He said he's done. He said he has nothing left in boxing to prove, which he's probably right, the great fighter he is. The last boxer that retired undefeated was Rocky Marciano back in 1956. Well, that's your sports for this Monday, and I am Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. And stay with us for Ridgecrest Talk, coming up next.